We'll do it live.
Okay. Well, no.
We'll do it live. F it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Nintendo Talk Live. I am Bobby, the Nintendo Guru, joined by Mr. Adam Leonhardt of the Mega Dads. What is up, sir?
Hey, what's up?
Not much.
Sorry, I tried to come in with some excitement like Sean Capri, but
There's nobody could be like that.
on the inside, I've been fighting with my kid for the last 2 hours, so I'm like, hey.
On the inside, you
Yeah.
mentally telling him to knock stuff off,
That's right.
and he's not doing it, and you're ready to choke him.
You gotta pump yourself up for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm with the Nintendo Guru. Everything's okay now.
Exactly. It's better to do an episode with your brother. You know what I mean? Like, jeez. You know.
Oh, and anything is better than that. Anything.
Speaking of which, I gotta get John on something, man. I gotta get him on a show. He was supposed to do the host with me, and then when he agreed to do it, I was like, yeah, it's time to shut it down.
That's what I figured. I figured that was
Yeah.
the reason that you're like, okay.
The minute I booked John, I was like, it's just gonna kind of go downhill from now. So
John's like the elusive man.
yeah,
I feel like over the last, I don't know, year, we've done a couple things, and I've started to reach out into like the indie podcast community and request to be on things. But he's kind of like, he plays hard to get.
The crazy thing is, he reached out to me and
He
was
did?
like, yes. He was like, dude, I love the show. I would love to come on anytime. And I was like, absolutely, John. And then you guys went away to E3. And then the show went away after that.
Well, maybe you're the reason he doesn't do any shows. Maybe you shattered his confidence.
That could be.
He's just like, oh my god.
And if that's the case, I feel so bad.
He didn't want me so bad he shuttered the program.
Exactly. Real quick, let's say hello to some people that are in the chat already. We got Josh Stapleton here. What is up, Josh? Hoshway Ponce, Zaneham, Matthew Knight, Rigo Lara, Andrew Dartrey. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a wonderful evening tonight. It's gonna get bad from here on out. Like, it's just anytime
That's
Adam,
literally, we already hit the peak.
Yeah, it's done. The minute we said hello, the minute I said what's up, everybody, it's downhill from there. So you guys.
Then I opened my mouth, and it's just a fountain of garbage.
And it's done.
Yeah.
What did I say? I said something about you one day, and Sean was just like, dude.
I heard that.
And I was like, it's okay. Like, me and Adam had this thing where we, like, you know, like, he knows, like, I understand. He understands me. We kind of get each other.
Here. There's love here.
You know what I mean? Like, I gotta say this, though. What the hell happened to you, man?
You're going to have to be way more specific than that.
Dude, you used to be an extremely handsome man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right.
You married way up, but I did too. I think we both married
That's
way
really
up.
the only way to do it.
Yeah.
You have to just convince them that that they're making the right choice.
Yes.
And then you
Yes.
lock them in.
Yes, and then that's it.
And then it's too late.
It's too late. It's done. And then you even went the extra step. Like, you got her pregnant twice, and you're good to go now. Now she's with you forever.
Exactly.
And even if, like, you two were to, like, split, God forbid, like, your DNA is around her for the rest of her life. So she can never get rid of you.
We are fused like a Metroid.
Exactly.
So my wife and I were going to be celebrating our 5-year anniversary coming up very shortly.
Congratulations.
And thank you. So I've been posting pictures up on Facebook, and it's like, wow, where did my hair go? And so it's
slowly,
so you made that comment,
Yeah.
What happened? And I was just like a whole bunch of pie.
Yeah.
And
and
that's about it.
Yeah,
and then I got a desk job, and voila, and that's the specimen.
Yeah, but you don't
before.
listen. You're not that. You're not me. All right, so
No.
you're good. You're good. I mean, you could be this, and then it gets worse. It gets horrible. You know what I mean? Like, it's like there's the wall, and you just hit the wall, and it just falls apart, man.
We poke fun at ourselves
Yes.
quite heartily at Megadad, so
Yes.
I am more than up for a good ribbing.
I'm always, I am too. And I don't get it much because I think because Sean won't go there with me ever since the blowout. You know what I mean? Like when we had that big when he dropped the FU bomb.
He's nervous.
Yeah, I think he's worried that like I might actually come back after him now, and I never would. You know, and Toby and I go back and forth, but Toby just he's too. I think he's too timid to really.
We all know that Sean he saves it for after the show.
Yes,
like the mics are off.
Oh, when the mics are off, he totally lights me up.
Once your back is turned,
then
he will tell you what you.
Then he pulls the knives out and starts stabbing you and stuff. Patrick from Nintendo Talk, what is up, buddy? How you doing? Yeah, man, it's crazy. Like, I started this show just because I felt like Toby doesn't like to bring guests on the show, and Sean, like, I don't like to bring guests on if we were at Nintendo. I try to keep, unless it's something important, I try to keep it because there's a formula to the show.
That's exactly it.
It's hard to bring someone into that and then get the dynamic and go with it. There's only a few people that we've brought on that I felt like this is perfect. You know what I mean? Like right. Masson is amazing.
Like me.
Yeah, you were pretty bad. I gotta be, if I'm being honest, it was probably the low point of the show.
The ratings were not so good.
They were really bad.
It's tough.
They were bad.
We've experimented with doing some guest spots on Mega Dads. We've only had, I think, 2 episodes where we've had guests for the full show. I mean, we do a pretty lengthy show.
Oh yeah, you guys are.
And we've kind of flirted with doing guests as segments where we would interview somebody over Skype, pre-record it, and then just insert it. So it's not the full show. Yeah. Because you're right. I mean, you have a dynamic. Yeah. There are ebbs and flows to every show. Yeah. And when you bring in an outside element to that, no matter how good they are at what they do, it's different and it's going to throw you off from what you do. Yeah. So while we have had guests and they have been great episodes, at the same time, it changes something fundamental about how you do your show. And so you always end up wondering and thinking, like, is this something we want to continue to do? And we continue to test the waters. And we had Johnny Casino on not that long ago, and that was terrible.
That was a mistake. That was a mistake. I don't know what you were thinking with that one. That one blew me away. When I heard that, I was just like, wow. And I had to listen because you had my segment on that show. And I was like, my God, of all people.
Well,
even Josh Stapleton just said it. He said Johnny Casino ruined guests on Married.
We had to use your producer pop-in as like incentive. Like, don't shut it off yet. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Just hold out through all this other crap.
Yes.
Bobby will be here soon.
Luke Lure in the house. What is up, buddy? How you doing?
Luke. Yeah, Luke's man. The dude.
Yeah, Luke is the man. I love Luke. So, listen, I brought you on, and I was kind of worried about bringing you on the show, because this is kind of Nintendo stuff, and I know you like to bag on Nintendo a lot. But I thought maybe, and then I thought maybe I could make Adam fall back in love with Nintendo a little bit,
I think there's a misconception about me amongst our listeners and friends.
If there's a misconception, it's called your Twitter. That's where the misconception comes from.
Well,
because you're pretty harsh, and 140 characters is not enough to really, you kind of have that Donald Trump syndrome when it comes to.
Hey, whoa. Back it up.
Nintendo is your North Korea, and you're just sitting there like,
I don't know if I've ever been more insulted in my life. Okay, so it's funny that you brought that up, because I was kind of wondering that myself, because in all honesty, before I came down here, I looked at my what I was wearing, and I had a Last Guardian t-shirt on, and I said to my wife, I'm like, would this be offensive? Like, would they get the wrong idea if I wore a PlayStation exclusive shirt to the Nintendo Talk? So I changed for you.
But you got the Thwomp pillow in the back and the Mario in the back. Like, you're good to go.
Right.
You're all right.
I'm not wearing pants, but whatever.
I'm used to that with Sean all the time.
Okay, so here's the deal. And I was listening to the last If We Ran Nintendo, and you were talking about like Nintendo fandom. And that kind of registered with me, and I was thinking about that in anticipation of this. And I think a lot of people hear the way I talk about Nintendo, and they interpret it as I'm not invested, or I'm not a core Nintendo guy. And as you said, you look behind me, if you could see the wall over here, it's nothing but bob-ombs and Goombas.
Okay.
But in that same context, I consider myself a fan of games like across the board. I love Nintendo, I love Sony, and I love Microsoft. I'm not always completely 100% in what any of them are doing at any given time. If you listen to my show, I pretty much bitch about everything.
This is true. This is very true.
I just kind of take turns.
Yeah.
I am a Nintendo fan from the start. Like, I've owned every Nintendo home console ever since I was able to buy them on my own. I've been getting them since launch. I had a GameCube since launch, Wii U, Switch. But above everything else, I'm always about like what games speak to me. And like even right now, while I may harp on Nintendo and I don't like Rabbids, that's fine. I completely recognize that 95% of everybody in the world loves this game.
Yeah.
But
so how does it feel to be wrong on Rabbids, on Splatoon 2?
Oh, I love Splatoon. Hey.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you loved Splatoon or not. You were upset with Arms. Arms was the one you didn't like.
Arms, I was not a fan.
And you know what? I think, Adam, you were right. It just took a little while for everybody to catch up. You were ahead of the curve on that one.
And it's not even. I don't even see it like necessarily as a matter of being right or wrong. When I present my bile on certain games, like in my head, it's my opinion. Yeah. Like, I'm super happy that everybody loves Rabbids. Yeah, it's not for me, but I'm also not willing to kind of subvert that opinion just because it's not popular.
Yeah.
And when I'm on Megadad's Live, if I'm not giving an entertaining or a boisterous opinion one way or the other, that's not entertaining. Like, nobody wants to hear a guy say, "Oh, I don't like it." Like that's not entertaining. I think a lot of what we do is amplified on that show. Yeah. Like our opinions and our personalities, they're us, but it's amplified for the sake of entertainment.
You guys are 1990s WWE. You know what I mean? Like you take it up a notch. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, it's like we do a video game comedy show, and so when I talk about Rabbids, like I get excited. When we went to E3 and I saw it and I played it, it wasn't for me, but I didn't put the Switch down and then turn to John and just go off. It's like it's just not for me. Yeah. And on the show, I play it up. I play it up for laughs. I play it up for entertainment. Yeah. So I am a huge Nintendo fan. Sometimes they drive me crazy, but that's given. The same thing goes for Sony and Microsoft. Yeah. I just finally pre-ordered an Xbox One.
I'm getting ready to. Well, I asked for one for Christmas because I was like, I'm not going to spend my money on that. I'll get my wife to do it. No, you know what? Because I never have anything for her to buy me, really. And I thought, you know what? I'm looking at an Xbox One. I'd like to get one. Right. I'll get her. And I was going to buy the X. And then, because I'm on record for saying, like, when the X comes out, I'm buying it. I don't care. Well, it was Scorpio at the time. I'm like, I'm getting it. And then I thought about it, and I was like, I've never played Xbox before. What if I don't like it? This will
be your first one.
Yeah, this will be my first one. So I'm like, what if I spend $500 and I hate the thing? Then I'm screwed. Right. You know what I mean? So I was like, let me just kind of ease into this. So then I took it another level. I was like, well, I'll ask for it for Christmas. And then, but I have a feeling like there's a lot of people that are my friends that play. So I think I'll be okay with that. So, but my question to you is this. Where does how old were you when you started playing Nintendo? Like, what's your first Nintendo and stuff?
The old NES, 8-bit Nintendo. I got for my birthday when, 8 years old.
Okay.
So, I mean, John and I grew up Nintendo kids. We didn't have Sega. it was NES, Super Nintendo. We've had every home console. I've never been a mobile guy, so that's really the only facet of Nintendo that I've never really been into.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've been Nintendo from the start. Mario was like my thing for sure. On my 30th birthday, as a grown-ass man, I had a Mario-themed birthday party. My wife made me a Mario cake, and it was... I'm just a big kid, so yeah, I love Nintendo, absolutely.
Where... I know once you start to tell this story, I know I'm going to remember it. But where does the divide come? Like, where do you start to separate ways? Is it you first, or is it John first?
As far
as like moving away from Nintendo.
Console wars?
Yes. Okay. Because I've heard this story, but I just can't put my finger on where I heard it at. Probably like showing the show.
It was on We the Gamer Cast, my appearance there. So John got an N64. Okay. And I got a PlayStation.
So you left first. So I should have brought John on, is what you're telling me. Okay, I got
you. And it's a funny story. Like you said, you probably heard it already, but we used to just bitterly fight about these two consoles. We still lived together. We were teenagers. We lived, at home. And I would play Nintendo 64 just as much as he would play PlayStation. So we were like fighting for the sake of fighting. Yeah. I never really considered that I left, because N64 was a great age. And I can remember staying up late with John eating Hot Pockets playing Wave Race. Nintendo has never not been in my life. But yeah, as far as like when my interests started to kind of divide, I got a PlayStation, and now I've been a Sony guy ever since then too. I said, when I hear people talk about how I'm Nintendo and Nintendo only, hats off to them for their devotion. But at the same time, I kind of feel like you're only seeing half of, you're not getting everything in context. It's kind of like, God forbid, I don't want to talk about politics again, but it's kind of like people who only vote down party line because that's just the way they are.
That's just the way they know, and that's all they know, and that's all they do. Right. It's not good.
You gotta open your mind, and people have their reasons for why they don't buy any other consoles. Whether it be finances or people enjoy the family-friendly nature of Nintendo. I totally get it.
I feel like finances is an okay reason to say you're not going multi-platform. But to just say that, like, something sucks without even trying it, that's a mistake. And for me, I was that guy with Xbox for a long time. Like, I hated Xbox. Phil Spencer warned me on that. Now, the presidents before Phil Spencer just never sold me on it. Never. Real quick, I just want to say, what's up, Sparvy? What is up, Walkable Gamer, and a couple other people that came into the chat. How you guys doing? Phil Spencer's softened me on all that, honestly, because the dude is amazing. So,
he really is.
That said, like, I always had Sony and I always had Nintendo. Like, they were my two, because essentially what happened is when Sony comes into the game and it's the PlayStation 1 and the N64, I don't leave for Sony until Final Fantasy comes out. Once Final Fantasy comes out, I'm in. You know what I mean? Because then Metal Gear Solid comes out, and then it just starts. I fall down this rabbit hole of just down on torn, and I'm going back and forth. Age. Yes. And it was like, it's crazy because I loved WWE games on the N64, hated them on PlayStation. And then it was like, so I would go back and forth, and like something great, like Banjo would come out, and I'd go back to N64. And then, and then you turn around, and then like I said, Metal Gear Solid hit, and then I go, or Crash comes, and I go back. Although Crash is such a bad game, but whatever.
Hi, Dave.
Yeah, Dave Moore. Come on, this guy. That's one podcast I will say that their tasting games is the worst. Like, them two have no taste in video games at all. Just. Part of me's kidding, but part of me's not either. Because
I've seen the tweets.
I know what you're talking Johnny about. Casino, man, he really like, he's got this thing where he thinks that like NES play action football is the greatest. It's the worst. He thinks that You know, because Tecmo Bowl is so much better than that. He swears that that's better than Tecmo Bowl. And I'm like, are you on crack? Like, what is wrong with you? His mom apparently dropped him on his head numerous times as a young child. So, but...
poor Casino. Poor Johnny.
I'm just kidding. I love them guys. But anyway, so for me, like, I look at that divide back and forth. And it was a great era to be a gamer. You know what I mean? Like, because I felt like with Sega only had one or two really good games.
Right.
Third parties carried them completely. But at the same time, like, it just felt like the third parties on Sega were always a little better than Nintendo when you went to Genesis against the Super Nintendo.
And that was a time when you would have licensed games like Aladdin and Lion King, and they'd be different. They'd be multi-platform games, but they really weren't the same game.
They were different games.
And kind of in the same sense as well as PS1 and N64, where you would have, like your WWE games. Yeah. They would
make two
develop
versions,
both systems, but they were two totally different games.
Absolutely.
And we just don't really live in that time anymore. Now
it's like a great cross.
A Call of Duty is a Call of Duty.
Yes.
And a Madden is a Madden.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of interesting how, when you look back at that period, really what platform you were choosing really indicated what kind of game you were going to get.
And that's the thing, and that's the thing. Like for me, like even Mortal Kombat, like the Nintendo version, they had sweat, and
they had no blood.
And the Genesis version they had blood, and it was crazy. You know what I mean? Like that blew me away to even think about that. Like so, I don't know. I feel like now though. That's why I pushed to get the Xbox, because there's games I want to play on it, I want to try on it, and then same thing with like PlayStation. Like, man, I would be, and it's crazy because there was a time like the PlayStation 3 came out, and I was like, I'm not buying that thing till it comes down in price. Like, you're not gonna talk that trash to me about go get a second job. Like, you can kiss off, bro. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like that arrogance. That's what turns me off of gaming companies. Like that's why I didn't like. I'm not a fan of Peter Moore at all. So when he was heading up Xbox, I kind of walked away. And honestly, when he started heading up EA for a while there, I stopped buying EA games, and it's just because his arrogance. I'm not a fan of. I just don't like it, and maybe it's just because he's British. It's not a knock on British people, but sometimes they can come off a little high and mighty when they're really not. It's just you're not understanding. Like I didn't understand that back years ago until I started hanging out with Toby all the time, and then I started to pick it up. It's just a way of life. It's a way that they talk, and it might come off sometimes a little like, "Hey, we're better than you," but that's not really what it means. It's just it's different. It's kind of like a language barrier to some degree. Like if you don't know it, you don't understand it, it can be misconstrued totally. Yeah. So,
well, there's really something to be said about messaging.
Yes.
And I mean, that's like a very powerful thing, especially in today's video game environment where there's people like you and I who are so invested in everything that's going on, not just what we're putting in our disk drive, but like what is the company communicating to us? And as we get more social elements in our games, playing online and sharing features and services like, Games with Gold and what a company communicates about how they appreciate you as a customer really goes a long way towards winning your dollar.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you talk about getting an Xbox, I don't know if there's a more consumer-friendly company in the video game market than Xbox right now.
Right now, man, Phil Spencer is like, that dude makes you fall in love, man. Seriously.
As much as I, over the years, have said I just have no interest in getting an Xbox for the games, like the back of my mind is always looking at the features and what they are doing for their customer, and you cannot deny that they have gone multiple extra miles to try and win back the gamer.
Yeah.
So, and that's honestly one of the places that I struggle with Nintendo is sometimes they seem to do what they want, which is kind of like the Nintendo message, and oftentimes they're giving you something you never thought that you wanted.
Yeah.
And you end up happy in the end, but
the road to get there sometimes is hard.
It's bumpy.
Yeah.
Um,
and I think that's and it's not. I think it is. It's a Japanese culture thing.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the developer for Splatoon, he says it in an interview. My wife is nuts. So he says it in an interview where he says, like, in our culture, like, you could go into a restaurant one day and they are serving hash browns, and that's all they're making is hash browns. You can't go in there and be like, I want steak today. We're not serving steak. Well, why not? Because we're not. And that's the Japanese culture. That's what it is.
You don't want steak.
Yes, and that's the thing that, like, for me, as an old school growing up Nintendo fan, I fell in love with Japanese culture. Like, I like the things that they offer and they bring, and I like the fact that they don't, like, they do what they feel is the right thing to do,
right? And
then that's it, you know. And that, so for me, it's like I enjoy that part of it. I know it's frustrating for other people. That can be a little. The one thing that I was talking about this last night because I have a new podcast. Don't know if you know this. It's called Nintendo Planet that I do with Patrick from Nintendo. And
do you like Nintendo? Am I sensing a theme here?
Not really. I'm not a fan of Nintendo at all. Like I just do this, because whatever, it's easy, So no, but in it we're talking about, essentially just, and I just lost what I was talking about. Holy shit. And I just cursed. I didn't mean to. I apologize.
Uh-oh. See what I've done.
You're derailing me here. You're derailing me here.
Not just you Nintendo dads.
Oh, so we were talking about last night because Reggie had said about, that they try to keep things close to the vest. And I was saying to Patrick and Joe that, like, I'm fine if they want to keep the gaming stuff close to the vest. Like, if you're going to announce a new game or something like that, like, I'm fine with that. Like, keep that close to the vest. Like, I don't want to know secrets. I don't want to know that, like, this is coming out. Like, I don't want to know anything. Like, it's fine with me. Sparvy disliked someone did a bad. That's funny. But, like, when you're talking about, like, how the SNES Classic is going to be distributed, or how many you're going to get, or what the opportunity is for people, like, that's not stuff you keep close to the vest. That's stuff that you let people know what's going on. And I likened it to Apple, where, like, the iPhone 8 just came out. It's sold out. You can't get it, right? It's back ordered. But I could walk into a Best Buy and still get one. I just go in, I put my money down, they go, you're not going to get it for 3 weeks. Okay, here's my $1,000. I'll wait 3 weeks. And we just do it because we know we're going to get it. And you know what? And even though it's frustrating because you're putting the money out and you're not getting anything, you're still happy because you know you are getting it at some point.
Satisfied consumer. Yeah, I mean, it was funny just last week when I was on my lunch break and I checked my phone and Luke Lord tweets me. He's like, "Hey, Xbox pre-orders are up." I'm like, "Cool." I went on Best Buy, pre-ordered one, put my phone down. I was like, "Huh, that was easy."
Well, let's be fair, because when the GameStops went up, it was like that, and they were going.
Oh, was it?
Oh yeah, man, they were going quick, fast. So
I got really lucky.
Yeah, I think you just kind of got lucky. So I don't know. It's all. But then again, like, who really wants an Xbox? Seriously. Like,
we're steering the conversation.
I'm going to take control back. We're going to bring Nintendo back. So, I got a question for you, because I've been playing this game the past couple of days. SteamWorld Dig 2. Mm-hmm. Have you ever played any of these games at all, or? Somebody asked me or made the comment about me and indie games. I think it was Grouchy Surge today made the comment. He's like, you don't play indie games, do you? And I'm really not. I'm kind of a AAA guy. Mm-hmm. So no, I have not played SteamWorld Dig. The only indie that I'm kind of waiting for on Switch right now is Stardew Valley. Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. There's a select few. I'm really excited that Inside is coming. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm totally taking this away from SteamWorld. But just kind of tell you my state on indies. I really like those more kind of artsy, art house kind of story-driven indie games. So I already played Inside, but I'm really happy to see games like that coming to Switch, because when it comes to games like, I hear you rave about Chicken Wiggle, and looks great, but it doesn't really speak to me personally. When it comes to like that platforming, cartoony kind of game, like I really like my pedigree AAA branded games. And then when it comes to indie, I'm looking for something a little more thought-provoking, I guess, if that's the right word.
Sissified is what I would say. You just like them walking simulators. I get it. I understand.
Some of those are okay. I'm a very narrative-heavy kind of gamer. Like, I love games that are telling a really deep, resonating story. And so, to be completely blunt, some of that stuff is really hard to come by on Nintendo platforms.
I agree. For me, my love for Dig 1 was very Metroid-esque. And I didn't realize it. Like, so at the time I played Shovel Knight, and at that point when I played Shovel Knight, I was like, it's okay to play indies. It's not like during the Wii era and the PS3 era where you just got junk. You know what I mean? I'm starting to see like real games. I was like, okay. So I played that, and then I played Guacamelee, and I was like, okay, there's some decent games out here. So one day I was listening to NVC, and they were talking about Dig, and they were talking about how it's very, holy crap! My wife said I'm 9 subscribers away from 1,000. That is amazing. That's amazing. So essentially, what happens is I listened to that, and they're raving about SteamWorld Dig, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. So I buy the game, and I start playing it, and as I'm playing, all of a sudden I realize, like, dude, this is so much like Metroid. It's not even funny. And I was like, immediately fell in love with it. Like, just loved it. And so rare that I beat the game, and then I went back and played it again, and played it again, and played it again. And every time just trying to do better and better and better. And then, like, it came out on the PS4, and I bought it there. And then it came out on the Wii U, and I bought it there. And then, just anywhere I could get it, I just bought it. And I loved it. And then...
You might have a problem.
I definitely have a problem. Don't worry about that. So then, I wind up... So now Heist is coming out, right? And I start to... it's not what I want. I want Dig 2. And I'm a little frustrated that they're not bringing Dig 2. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I start to do my stuff. And I go and I demo it. And I'm like, wow, this is a really good game. I'm like, okay. Because I am a fan of the turn-based strategy games. Like, I like Fire Emblem, stuff like that. So this game is really driven that way, SteamWorld Heist. Again, they knock it out the park with it. And I'm like, holy crap, dude. This is amazing. So then Dig 2 comes out. And without getting spoilery at all, I don't want to get spoilery for anybody because it just came out a couple days ago. I played it today, I beat it, and I, hand to God, just felt this emotion hit me. Because they did things in this game that I wish other developers would do. And it's just, they pay attention to detail. And they're connecting dots from game to game to game. And it's like... There's little Easter eggs always driven within their games and woven throughout that just like they're tipping their cap to you. Like, hey, you've played these other games? Here's a little something for you. You know what I mean? And you don't get that all the time. Like, you could play Mario Galaxy 1 and play Galaxy 2, and they're essentially two separate games. Other than the fact that like they're saying this follows that, that's it. But you never get that little nod to go like, hey, thank you for playing the last one. Here's a little something for you because you played it. And there's images and stuff that took place in this game that I was just like, boom. My head just like, I was like blown away. What I did was I recorded, as the credits were rolling, I recorded and I sent a message to the developers. And then I emailed it to them. So I hope they get to see it. Like I've written image-informed letters before, like not to Brian and Julius, because they're the figureheads. They're to the developers. I actually went through their whole contact list of all the people that work on the team and wrote every single person's name down on the letter, and then wrote them a letter and said a handwritten letter, and I mailed it off to Sweden. And I was just like, and they got it. And one day I was talking to Julius, and he was in the office, and he was giving me a tour on Skype of the whole office, and there was a letter hanging where all the developers work. And I was like, that meant like
cool.
That's really cool to me. Like it was like a piece of me is there. And then the other day, this morning, I wake up, and the lead artist on Dig was like, hey man, I'm waiting for your review of Dig 2. Like, what's going on? So I definitely, I wrote my review tonight. I'm going to record it tomorrow, and it should be up Monday. But
that's pretty cool that you make those connections. You know, it's really awesome when you can, you know, you admire somebody's work and you reach out.
Yes.
And you never know what's going to happen. And every once in a while, you know, they surprise you. It reminds me of the story of when I was at E3 and Reggie walked right by me while I was in line for Odyssey. And I said, Reggie! And his bodyguard just punched me right in the stomach and dropped me like a brick. And I was just spitting blood. I couldn't stand for like 20 minutes. So, you know, like, it's just surprise connections.
You're a mess. Matthew Knight, dude, that makes me feel good, dude. I wrote a hand letter to his son, Preston. He was watching Matt was watching a YouTube video of mine, and he, I don't know Reggie personally. Luke, stop that. So Matt like messages me privately. He's like, "Hey man, my son watched your videos." And he's like, I'd like to have that guy's autograph. And dude, that touched me so much that I was like, "What's your address?" And I hand wrote a letter to him and signed the letter, and then I gave him a World of Nintendo Gold Mario figure and sent that out as well. And it's cool, man.
You're a hero.
Yeah.
And apparently you have an abundance of stationery.
Yes, I do. Somebody has to. Come on.
Yeah.
In this day and age, come on. Everybody's got to do it.
Letters with pens and everything.
Because you know what? I feel like if you take the time to handwrite a letter, it means something. You know what I mean?
I got a message from one of our fans on my website just the other day, and it was, you know, it was special. It warmed my heart. I sent it to you. Remember?
Yes. Like, I don't know. Fan is a bit of a stretch. That's a little, you know.
That's just my passion coming through, and it's resonating with our listeners.
That's you have a way with your
I do.
Fans that you know
the people love me.
Yes, apparently so in a deep way. You know,
not too deep.
Patrick, I have discovered email, but I always feel like when you do something like that, it means more. It just means something. Like I've had people send me stuff before, like and write a letter to me, and I'm just like, I feel like as you get older, I start to get a little emotional, sentimental. And I've had people write me letters, and I get all like misty eyed and stuff because I'm like, they're like, man, this person actually took the time to write me this letter of how they feel about my channel. Not a lot of people know that. My wife is like kind of hardcore, and like we'll watch stuff that gets emotional, and I start to like, I'm fighting back tears, and I'm trying to like, she's like stone cold over there, like she doesn't even like budge, and I'm like watching America Got Talent. I'm like rubbing my eyes and stuff.
I am 100% with you. We watched, what the heck did we watch? It was a movie with Chris Evans, and he's like taking care of his niece because her mother died, and it's like some movie about him raising this girl, and it's just like super corny, like 90s feel good kind of movie. And by the end of this, I'm just like, Captain America is so nice to that little girl. Just a slobbering mess.
And then your wife is like looking at you like, what is wrong with you?
Just like, grow a pair, Adam.
Yeah, she's like, you piece of trash. Look at this, me TJ, which is actually TJ Sentul. I'm gonna just say Santula. I don't care. I know I said it wrong, but whatever. I'm the worst at names, man. I'm so bad with names. Anyway, thank you, TJ, for coming in. Josh Stapleton, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Wait. Is that you, Mega Dads, or is that John?
not me. I cannot do two things at the same
So
time.
Megadad said pen and paper doesn't have autocorrect. That is true. That is very true. I'm assuming that's John. So if that is John,
God, I hope so. Otherwise, we've got
you got somebody hacking and stealing
know
into your account. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I will say is at the beginning of the show, if you did not catch it, John, is I was saying that I would love to get you on here as well. So that would be,
And then as soon as you guys lock that up, you can go ahead and cancel this show too. Done.
Wow.
Just keep stringing them along. Just keep coming up with new shows.
That's all. Yeah. Well, I started the new one. You know what I mean? Like, I started the new one.
That's all just laying the ground.
I was co-started the new one. I don't want to act like I took the credit for it. That was actually Patrick came to me and was like, hey, man, I want to... Because I brought him on Nintendo Talk Live. We did a couple episodes of Nintendo Talk Live. And he's like, hey, man, I really want to collab with you. And it was funny because as the people were in the chat, they were like, you guys need to do something all together. Like, all the time together. So afterwards...
So let me ask you this real quick.
Yes.
Do you ever see your wife? Like,
pictures.
Do you know what she looks like at this point?
Just if it wasn't for, if it wasn't for...
You just Skype her in the other room because that's just what you're used to.
I'm trying. What the hell? My phone is just this. Like I just have a picture. Okay. That's it. I just look at that and it's although she chopped her hair today, so it doesn't even look like her anymore. So I got to get a new picture on there. But no, I go up there and I'll like get food, and then I come back down.
Yeah.
She used to come and play Fallout 4, and then I would see her all the time. But now with because I've been doing a lot of live streaming and such, so she's kind of like,
Let me ask.
TJ said I'm laying the groundwork for my media empire.
Yeah. Okay. So what drives you to continue to expand?
The fans. Yeah. Honestly, that's all it is.
I think that's what we're missing. I just don't care about our fans. It's got to be the missing ingredient.
I don't, and I don't even like calling them fans. I hate that word. I really, I just despise that word because I feel like they're friends of mine because we hang out, we game together and stuff. I honestly, it's the tweets, it's the private messages, it's stuff like that. It's like when I see my subs going up and like you'll see a message in there like, man, how come you don't have more subscribers? This is crazy. And it's like, so that appreciation of my content is always driving me to do more. And all the time, and I'll be honest with you, it's crazy. I'm constantly looking at what everybody else is doing. I look at what you and John do, and I look at what the Nintendo dads do, and I try to look at it and go, like, how do I make me, Sean, and Toby better? How do I keep pushing that envelope to make us do better things and keep us ahead of the curve of everybody else? I am a 49ers fan, so I know that I have more fans than the 49ers, honestly. They're in bad shape right now. But I'm always like looking at the other guy. Like I look at what you and John do, and I go, I'm jealous of what you guys do in terms of you do a webcomic. I always wanted to be a cartoonist, and I had a webcomic for 4 years. And, and I loved it. Like it was just so hard to break in to the papers. Like I applied to newspapers and stuff like that, and I got rejection letters and all that stuff, and I used to actually like just read the newspapers just for comics. I had subscriptions to newspapers just for comics, so I could read them and learn and try to cultivate. And like Bill Watterson was a huge inspiration for me.
Right.
Can't stand the Peanuts. Can't stand Charles Schultz. I like Charles Schultz, but I mean, like, what I mean by that is I hated the fact that when he died, they kept his comic in the papers.
Oh, sure.
Because I felt like that's taking the spot for somebody up and coming. Not that I felt like I was good enough to be there, but I always felt like there's always that potential of somebody else coming up. I can't stand Garfield. And the reason why I can't stand Garfield is I feel like he's just taking a spot. Jim Davis is just taking a spot for somebody else. That is just a machine. He don't even draw. People don't even realize that he don't even draw Garfield anymore. He just has an artist, and him and another guy sit down once a month, and they write a bunch of scripts, and they hand it off to the artist, and the artist draws it. And it's like,
no kidding.
Yeah, man. He don't do anything anymore. He stopped drawing it. Go back and look at the original Garfield. It's garbage. Like, I could draw better with my left hand than he's drawing with his whatever hand he uses. When it gets good is when he walked away from it.
Huh.
And it's like...
Never knew that.
So, yeah, man. So, I always looked at that, like... Same thing with, like, Beetle Bailey and all them. Like, them guys passed away. Why are we still getting... Like, my thing was this was I always felt like there was so many... Because when I would read webcomics, I would be like, why is this comic strip not in the paper? And why is that one not in the paper? And why is this one in the paper? And it just blew me away. Like, there was really... And you know, I mean, I'm sure you admire other webcomics out there. And it's like, you look at this stuff and you go, why aren't these in the papers? It's nuts that it's just...
Right.
That people just let it go. And I admire your artwork so much. Because
Thank you.
Like, it's crazy because I would draw and I would think, like, I can draw. And then I saw your stuff and I was like, I know I can draw, but I can't draw like Adam draws. So I'm impressed by your artwork. It's really
Thanks.
really
I appreciate that.
man. So I think you do an amazing job with your... I love the comic and all that stuff. Well, look at when Adam dies, I'm going to continue the comic. It's going to be weird. That's your loving brother.
That's
your loving brother.
That's how we do it.
Yeah. And when I look at... So that's what keeps me pushing forward, is when I look at what everybody does. Nintendo Dads has always been an inspiration for me. Because what they do, I mean, they have like marathon 10-hour podcasts, and I just wish that I could do that one day.
Right.
I'm just teasing. I'm just kidding. No, what they...
You just want to work with Jesse Waldack like all the time.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Yes. Jesse.
More Jesse. It's as much Jesse as you can possibly get. I wish there was like Jesse Daily. I would watch Jesse Daily.
I like going on that podcast when Justin's on, and I like talking about Tingle because then you see Jesse's eyes light up.
Tingle?
Yeah.
Tingle where?
And then you see Justin just drop his head and go like this because he's like, why did you do this? Why did you get him excited? And he'll just go on this rant about Tingle for 5 hours, man. It's awesome. But no, like I look at what they do and the content that they're putting out, and it's always been like a drive for me to... Because when I was on the outside, kind of, and I was starting to grow, I was looking at you guys as like, okay, that's my competition. And not in a bad way. Like a healthy competition. Like, I need to do what they're doing, but take it a step further.
Sure.
So, I always felt like the best way to get better is to practice. And to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So everything that I'm doing is essentially just practice.
It's a muscle you got to flex, you know?
Yeah.
Anything creative, you have to refine.
Yes, exactly. So that's all where it comes from, honestly. So I don't know.
You just do a tremendous amount of work, and I always look, and it seems like every week you're announcing something new, or you're doing your daily videos. I'm like, my God, man, he's got some drive to him because. I'll be honest, like I have a tough time getting motivated sometimes. Yeah. I mean, I love the community that we've cultivated. Mm-hmm. I hate working with John, but I do it anyway because that's just, that's what we established and got to stick with it. Yeah. But like sometimes you just, it can wear on you and you're like, okay, I just need to dedicate myself to doing better. And then, like you said, you get those moments where somebody will, reach out to you or tweet you or send you a message, and it's always surprising. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever get comfortable with somebody saying that they enjoy what I do. I mean, yeah. I'm super happy. That's what we strive for. Mm-hmm. But it's humbling. Feeling, right? It's humbling.
It's like they say it. And it's just like, well, I don't know how to respond. I'm like, Thanks.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's because we're humble that we don't know how to respond, honestly. It's like, I know. Like, that's when it's time to pack it in. Like, that's when you're out of control and it's time to walk away. Like, I'll tell you this. This week, on Wednesday, I didn't do a Nintendo Talk at all, right?
I know that was the night that I cried myself to sleep.
Well, so I tweet out that I wasn't going to do it, right? Because I know that there are people that look for it every day. So I tweeted out, like, today's just not going to happen. Like, I got this chair in, I had to put the thing together, and there was some things going on that Tony and I were, doing, and I was
I hear you.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
So I was
Wink.
like, I was like, I'm just going to watch, we're going to watch TV and stuff together and all that.
That's what you want to call it.
Anyway, so essentially, she's Big Brother finale. She's throwing me under the bus. I'm trying to make it like I wasn't just didn't want to watch TV that night. So there was a couple things going on, like Big Brother finale and all. But I was putting the chair together too as well, and it did come with instructions. And it was She'll tell you it was driving me up the wall, like I was ready to kill somebody. And but I tweet out, and then Luke Lore, he says something like, "See, you are mortal." And I was like, that bothered me so much. So much. And not in a bad way. It just bothered me because I was like, man, I don't want to let these guys down.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this belief that, like, I just don't stop. And I keep producing and producing and producing. And it's like, when I don't, and then they say stuff. And I'm like, I just let, like... I gotta, I want to keep pushing forward. And Luke, it's not a bad thing. Trust me.
I think a lot of it is kind of what you hit on before, where you said, we don't have fans, we have friends.
Yes.
And I think, I listen to a lot of the shows in the network,
mm-hmm.
and like I listen to you and Sean like multiple times a week, and it's like I'm a part of a conversation.
Yes.
I feel like I am right there in the room with you.
Mm-hmm.
I sit there at my desk and I shake my head whenever you say something that's nonsensical, and
which isn't very often. It's not very often.
But like, and then we message each other and we tweet each other throughout the week, and it's just like, we're a family.
Yeah.
And so when you have that interaction and that back and forth and the people spurring you forward, it makes it less like work and more like you're bringing people into your home, you're bringing people into your studio,
mm-hmm.
and you're all you're having this together. And I know, not to get too like heady or heady about this whole thing, but
mm-hmm.
Oftentimes I think to myself, I'm like, how long is this gonna last? Like, this is, we're all awkward nerds who grew up and we're now like producing content,
mm-hmm.
and I didn't have friends growing up that I could rely on week after week after week to have really engaging and fun conversations.
Yeah.
So I listen to you guys and I tweet you guys,
mm-hmm.
and we are friends.
Yeah.
And I wondered to myself, like, I didn't have this just a couple of years ago.
Mm-mm.
Like, how long is this going to go forward?
Yeah.
And I hope it continues to go and grow, because it's extremely valuable.
I feel like where I'll basically leave is when I feel like I'm not needed anymore. And what I mean by that is, I do this and I feel like there's a whole uprising of other new people that are coming up now. Dude, Jacob Rush is about to hit 1 year. That blows me away, man. Like, I remember him coming to me and asking me to help him develop that podcast and do it, and I finish, if we ran Nintendo, and I go to Sean like, hey man, this kid wants to meet me to talk about podcasts. Do you have like 10-15 minutes? And he's like, yeah man. And so we jump in and we start talking and we bring him in, and next thing you know, like, we start kicking ideas around with him, and Nintendo nostalgia is born out of it. And
mm-hmm.
dude, he's got a huge following now, and it's really like, and honestly, like, if I don't do that, I don't meet Matt Knight, I don't meet other people like in the whole Jesse Armstrong, like, I don't meet these guys. So then, like, just recently, Anthony Baker and Sheldon Benedict, they both reach out to me. And, well, Sheldon reached out to me, and he's like, hey, man, I want to start a podcast. What do I... So, when stuff like that happens, it makes me, like, I feel needed within the community. Right. And I think the day that stuff stops is the day I'd probably walk, you know, because then I would feel like there's no necessity for me here. But
do you think you'll do it kind of like Dark Knight Rises, where you'll just kind of like fake your own death and then move to like Italy and then Michael Caine will just see you in the cafe one day. You'll just, and then we'll all be like, man, what happened to the guru?
Oh, good God. No. No, I think that, and I don't see that happening anytime soon, honestly. I love what I'm doing. I'm loving the content that I'm producing. Like, it's funny, Jules Watcham, who is near and dear to my heart, he messaged me earlier tonight, and he was just saying, like, hey, man, I've been super busy, and I haven't had a chance to, like, check out any of your videos this week. I'm so sorry. But I saw your new podcast that you're doing, and I really like it, and I like what's going on with it. And he even said to me the other day, he's like, dude, I feel like you have a huge momentum with what you're doing right now. It feels like you're clicking on all cylinders, and you're doing all the right things. So, for me, that's a huge, like, when you have someone that I admire that makes video games telling me this, I just go, wow. You know, like, I remember being 15 years old, reading Nintendo Power, just going, like, one day I'd just like to meet someone that makes video games.
Right.
And now I got one on my Skype that actually messages me, and we have conversations. And, like, I could be like, hey, Jules, I need to ask you a question. Can I jump on Skype with you real quick, and can we talk? And he's like, yeah, no problem. And we jump on, we have a conversation, and it's like, okay, good, you go your way, you go, and it's done, you know? And it's like, so for me, it's like, those are the moments, like that, the little payoffs is just where it all continues to flow for me, you know? And I would be, and this is me, Bobby, speaking, you know, I would be truly upset if you and John were no longer part of this community. Because I feel like when it all began, when you could peel back all the layers of where we are now, because it's insane now, the amount of people that are in this. But it was Nintendo dads, it was Mega dads. If we ran Nintendo, like what I was doing, like the Nintendo Guru family, I'll call it, We the Gamercast, Warp Whistle, and that was pretty much it. You know what I mean? Like, and then all of a sudden, all these podcasts started sprouting up, and we become, you know, and Dave Moore had his millions of podcasts, of course, but you know, but then Johnny Casino starts doing stuff, and then like everybody starts popping up, and it's just like, it's amazing. Like, I look around and I go, I feel like we're like the Godfathers, per se, of the whole thing. And that feels good. You know what I mean? It really does. It feels good to go, like, hey, man, we're part of a community, and it's just great to see all these great people coming together and just really, you know, taking off together. Like, it just
absolutely
it feels great, you know? So, but I would be, that's no... You know, I'm not being facetious. I'm not just saying stuff, whatever, like that. Like, I would be truly upset if you enjoy. I would be upset if you left, it'd be all right. But if John left, I'd be devastated.
Well, right.
You know.
let's be clear here. I mean, no. I mean, we have no plans. You know, we're almost 4 years strong. We have no plans on stopping. We're only growing and looking at improving what we do. Much as yourself. Like, it's important to not just idle, to look inwards and say, what is it that we're doing that we can grow? And so I mean, we love what we're doing, and we love what you're doing, and we hope that it continues. What
I love about the Super Indie Podcast thing is that we've all merged our groups per se, and we've all made it like, hey, it's okay for you to watch like, if you watch Nintendo Guru, it's okay for you to watch Mega Dads. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna get mad. I'm not gonna get upset if you do that. You know what I mean? Like, so it's more or less where everything comes apart. You know, and it's like
a partnership. Yeah.
Yeah. So because of that, though, I feel like we've all become friends. The communities have all become friends. Like, it'll be funny because I'll be like, prime example of Patrick. Patrick comes to me one day. He's like, dude, you got like a bunch of my people are moderators in your YouTube. What the heck? What was that? What happened? I'm like, dude, they just kept showing up to my stuff and they were very knowledgeable. And I just started, I needed mods. It got to the point where I had like trolls coming in and I'm playing a game and I can't handle them. So I started adding people as mods. And it just turned out that it was like, you know, like Luke Lore. Luke Lore's a mod. Well, that's somebody that came from you. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just cool to see like the way it all churns and turns around, you know what I mean? So, Tanner Thompson, what is up, buddy? How you doing? David Ray, how are you tonight? Blade Master Overdrive, I hope you're having a good night.
Blade Master Overdrive.
Yeah, that's a hell of a name, right? That's a hell of a name right there, man. Chibi in the house. Chibi is amazing. Variento, how are you doing? All these people popped up when we were having our big spiel, so I just wanted to kind of...
Our big hug moment.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this. Do you have the chat open?
No.
Okay.
Should I? Am I?
You probably should because John said $5. $5. Adam starts crying.
Oh, you SOB.
I love it.
I'm not crying for you.
Okay, so
no, sir.
So here's my question.
Okay.
What is so far with the Switch right now?
Mm-hmm.
What's your go-to game on the Switch?
Splatoon.
Okay.
I do not have an extensive library on my Switch. It will change very shortly when Mario gets here, but yeah, Splatoon is my jam for the summer. So I actually was just playing it earlier this afternoon. I'm not the best at it, but it keeps me happy. I think it is Nintendo's crowning achievement in the last console cycle,
yes.
other than like their flagship games.
Yeah.
I think it shows that there is still room for this company to grow in unique and exciting ways. I love that game. I think it's fantastic.
It is. So here's a question from Tanner Thompson. He says, Bobby, quick question for you two. Not sure if it was already talked about, but the Nintendo Direct that just happened about a week ago, what games were you hoping to have announced for the Switch? So is there a game that you hope would have got announced that didn't get announced? I think we're both thinking the same game.
Does it involve a raccoon who wants all of your money?
Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
I make no bones about it that I am sorely missing and needing, and there's a hole in my soul, Bobby, that can only be filled with bells.
I know. I'm with you, man.
I don't know where this game is.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it drives me nuts. Every single Direct, every single E3, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm convincing myself that it's happening.
I really thought that we would get one on the Wii U, and it never happened. And it devastated me because I wanted one so bad.
Yeah.
And then for those that don't know, we're talking about Animal Crossing. But then when they announced the Switch, I was like, okay, we're going to move to the Switch. Like, this would be ideal because you get to take it on the go.
You're thinking it's a launch game. They've had to in development, right? Like, it's got to be coming.
I really believe it gets announced for this year. I really do. I think
for this calendar year?
Whether or not it not 2017, 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to probably the tail end of 2018 it launches. Cuz there's no let's get realistic here for a second. So that game came out in 2010? I think.
Are we talking City Folk or are we talking
No, we're talking New Leaf.
Okay. Yeah.
New Leaf was about 2010. So
I'll have to defer to you because I didn't have a 3DS.
Oh, you didn't play it on 3DS?
I haven't played since Wii.
Oh my god,
really
man! You're really jonesing, man. Dude,
serious.
New Leaf was phenomenal, man. Like,
that's what everybody tells me. Yeah,
so good. They took the best aspects of all the Animal Crossings, dumped them in there, and then added more stuff to it. Like, it was... Tony and I actually bought our 3DSs like a week after they announced it.
Yeah.
And then it didn't come out for like another 3 years. Like, I wanted that game so badly. So badly. But anyway, you're talking... That game is... you know what? It's actually 2012. 2012 is when it launched. So you're talking 6 years ago? It's gotta come. So if it's 6 years since the last since the last Animal Crossing, you would think in theory that 7 years is long enough, and it'll come out.
Well, then they did that horrible tease of giving you that weird little Animal Plaza on Wii U. That wasn't even a game.
Oh my god, I know, right? Remember that?
Fire that thing up like once a week just to look at animals walk
just
around
to pull
the
up
screen.
just to see what animals were there and be like, oh yeah. I will say this. The worst and best thing about, Amiibo Festival was a travesty. But the one thing I'll say is there was a game in there. And it was like the island game where you were trapped on an island and you had to like get off the island. It was so much fun. You would pick like 3 villagers and you would try to figure out how to get off the island. And like each one had different abilities and stuff, and you would like work your way through. It was a lot of fun. I never played the there was also like a trivia game in it, but I heard that was super hard.
Okay.
But I don't know. But for me, I can't wait for this game. Like, I want this game so bad.
My wife is not much of a gamer at all. There's a select few typically Nintendo games that the two of us can play together. But when we were first starting out, first dating, like that was the game, and we would play it. We'd have spreadsheets of what fish we needed and what time of year they'd be around, and it was such a great co-op experience without being a co-op game, you know? Or I mean, there aren't very many moments that the two of us have where it's like video games is my thing. Like I am so invested in this, and so when I have those moments where my wife becomes equally interested and invested in a game,
that's how I was.
It's special.
Yeah,
it's really special, and so we spent so much time with that game, and I just, I know when that next one comes, my son is of the age now where he's gonna love it.
That's
Bunch of animals running around on TV. Are you kidding me? Like, it's gonna be a whole family experience. So I'm a massive fan of that franchise, and I need it in my life.
So a couple questions for you. One, do you time travel?
No.
Okay, neither do I at all. Like, I will not time travel. Tony doesn't either. Like, there is no such thing as that. Like, I never. And then 2, do you play in the same town? Or do you have your own towns?
Me and my wife?
Yes.
Same town. Because I believe in... I don't know how it worked in New Leaf, but I believe in City Folk it was like the 4 little houses in the town square. So, yeah, same town. We'd leave each other letters in our mailbox and like all that stuff. Plant flowers in front of each other's houses, just ridiculous mushy crap. But there are so many, like, it's Saturday night, KK's playing, let's go.
Yeah, no, good stuff.
So
incredible. Here's what happened with me and Tony, right? We were like, okay, so we start dating, and she talks about she used to game a lot. And I was like, well, if you used to game, you should try this. And I was like, I show her Animal Crossing on the GameCube. Sure. And she really likes it. Like, she falls in love with it. So now the Wii comes out, and there's talk about, City Folk. And we get it, and I start playing first. And I'm playing, and then, like, I was always getting up, like, 4 or 5 a.m. Like, that's just my internal clock. That's what because I used to always have jobs. I had to get up super early. So I would get up early, and I would play from, like, 4 or 5 until, like, 11, 12, 12 whenever she wakes up. And then she would go, I have to go do stuff. Because, you have to do your task. You have to catch fish and all that stuff.
Yep.
So I would have to, let her play so she could then go and, catch fish and all that stuff. So I'm like, it's driving me crazy. Because now, then it got so bad where, I'm laying out patterns, paths and stuff.
Yep.
I'm like, you can't walk off the paths. Because city folk, if you remember,
yeah,
you lost the grass, right?
Yep.
The grass would disappear if you ran all over. But and we're running all over the place. I got no grass, and it took forever to grow back. So I put these paths, and I'm like, you have to stay on the paths. Don't leave the paths. Yeah. So one day, she's like, I'm sick of sharing this with you. We need another way. And
she moved out.
yeah. She went and she bought another way. We went and bought another way, and hooked it up upstairs. And then she would play her town, and I would play my town, and then we would just we would come together and stuff. Right. And then when New Leaf came out, it was like, yeah, we're getting 2 3DSs. And this was bad. So yeah. So New Leaf comes out, right? She buys, she gets New Leaf. I pre-order 2 copies of New Leaf, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, she goes, it comes out at midnight. I'm not waiting till 10 o'clock in the morning to get it. I'm buying it now. I'm like, I pre-ordered it. I paid in full. They were already paid in full. It wasn't like I put the $5 deposit. I actually paid them in full so I could walk in the day, pick them up, and leave. I'm like, I already bought it. Paid for. And she's like, no, I want it now. She went and bought the digital version on her 3DS that moment so she could start, and she started playing at midnight, and I was pissed.
I was saying, was that just killing you inside?
It was killing me, man, because I'm like, she's got a 4-hour jump on me, or whatever it was. So then, so I go and I buy it, and I start playing it. And then we bought 2 Wii U's, but that was basically based around Mario Kart. But in the back of our minds, thought, hey, when Animal Crossing comes, we're in the cat dog seat. We're like sitting here perfectly, man. This is perfect. So, and we both have Switches, so it's not even an issue now. If it comes to Switch, we're fine. She'll have her town, I'll have my town, and then we'll. But the one thing I'll say about Animal Crossing is I've made so many friends. On City Folk, there's a kid I met, 15 years old, right? 15 years old at the time, and I'll never forget this to the day I die. I'm playing with him one day, right? And we're playing Animal Crossing, and we had the Wii Speak, right?
Oh, sure, right.
And so I'm talking to him, and he's talking to me, and then I hear his mom come in the room, and she goes, "Who are you playing with?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm playing with Bobby." And she's like, "Sir, how old are you?" And I was like, I'm like, at the time, I think I was like 33 or 34, something like that. I'm like, I don't know. I tell my age. She goes, "You realize you're playing with a 15-year-old, right?" And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I love the game. And unfortunately, that's all there is. Just a lot of young kids that play this game. And I said, but I love the game. Me and my wife play it all the time. She's like, yeah, I'm just letting you know. And it was kind of like one of those, like, I'm letting you know, dude. Be careful. Fast forward, me and his mom and him are like, we're all good friends now, still to this day. He's like, he just graduated college a couple years ago and stuff. Like, it's nuts, you know what I mean? Like, but like one day, right, we were playing Farmville or Castleville or something like that on Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. And she's messaging me, and she's like, "Do you have this? Do you have this? I need trades and stuff." And I was like, her name's Jeannie. I used to call her Jeannie Cakes. I said, you know, Jeannie Cakes, this is kind of like when I was playing with your son, and now the role. She's like, "Stop. I get it. I understand where you're going. Just stop." And then that was it. So, but yeah, it's but I've had,
that's awesome.
But there's other people like that I became friends with just from Animal Crossing that are just like, Animal Crossing just brings out a different breed of people, and It's crazy. It's just crazy, man. There was like a black market for Animal Crossing New Leaf. So if you wanted, this is crazy. So if you wanted villagers, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a way that, like, let's say that I had, who's your favorite villager in Animal Crossing?
For some reason, I've always got in my head, and this is getting into super nerd territory. In my original GameCube Animal Crossing, I had this blue-haired lion named Aziz, and I don't know if he's in any of the other games. He was one of those macho, like, bodybuilding guys, and every time I'd play that game, I'd go and see Aziz because he was like the coolest dude in my village, and I just clicked with him for some reason. So he's not one of the popular ones, but
he's popular to you. You love him.
Yeah,
that's the same with me. Like Bill the duck is my favorite. Him and Stitches. Stitches I like because Stitches is in the comic books. Bill is a jock, and he'll talk trash to me, and I like that. Like he'll be like, "Where you been all morning? I've been lifting and pumping iron and stuff, and you're just getting like kiss off, you little SOB." Like, come on. But so anyway, let's just say hypothetically, Aziz is in my town, right? Mm-hmm. But he's in boxes, meaning he's going to move. There was this whole weird thing on Facebook, in all these Facebook groups, where someone would post and go, "I have Aziz in boxes. I am going to start an auction as of now. Bidding starts at 1,000 bells. We're going to take the bidding will last an hour." And people would start bidding for the right to come to my town and invite Aziz into my town. So what happened? So let's say Adam wins the bid, right? And when I tell you this thing was going for, it wasn't real money, it was bells. Mm-hmm. When I'm telling you these things would go for 5, 6, 10 million bells, like it was nobody's business. Like it was crazy. 50 billion bells. Like it was just nuts. Nintapple Plays. What is up, man? How you doing? Riboflavins, welcome. Mr. Binkles, how you doing? There's so many people joining, but we're in our own little Animal Crossing world right now.
That's right.
So these bids would go crazy, right? So what happens is like if Aziz is in boxes, I go, "Adam, come to my town. Talk to Aziz. When you talk to him, if you happen to have an open plot at your land, when you talk to him, your character can invite him to come move to your town. Then in a couple of days, he'll show up in your town. Now, you got to do everything you can to keep him there and keep him, make him not leave." And that's what was awesome with the Welcome Amiibo that they did. That update they did for New Leaf was because if you had the Amiibo cards, so if I had my favorite villager, right, I could literally scan him in and he would move into my town. And it was like that. It was like perfect. It was just like that. And then if the town was full, he'd be like, "Your town's full." And I'd be like, "Kick somebody out." And he'd be like, "All right." He'll be like, "All right, I'm going to go tell them they got to move." And he would leave. And the next day, that person would be in boxes. And then they would be going the next day after that. And then the next day after that, you'd see a plot with their name ready to go. It's just so much fun. You
evicted some poor penguin who's got nowhere to go.
Get out. It was better than people trying to hit him over the head with nets and stuff to try to get him to leave. So,
that's so good.
Okay, with Animal Crossing, what's your objective in the game? Other than trying to mac with your wife, because you don't have the courage to do it in real life. But I get that. That's fine.
I loved the creative, like, the tweaks that you could, change your town song or design a pattern and watch it like just sprawl out and everybody's wearing your pattern.
That also
as an artist, like that's the kind of thing that I loved. I would create, like you said, patterns on the ground, and you'd make images or you'd design a flag to hang in front of your house. Yep. I love those personal touches that they put in that game.
For me, I like all that stuff as well. But for me, my main goal is when I start the game is to fill the museum to completion. That to me is my end game. If I could put all the fossils, all the fish, all the bugs in the museum, that's when I feel completed. I will not stop playing the game until that is done.
I love that area with the insects. That was so cool. Dude, just walking through there and the lights are low.
And they're fighting. Do you ever see... Well, was it in... It was in City Folk. If you caught the tarantula and the scorpion and you donated them, when you went to the museum, they'd be fighting each other. And then the other cool thing is if you get the piranha and you donate the piranha, when you go in, the piranha will follow you. Wherever you go, the piranha will follow you. And then he'll tap the glass and stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. It's the little things like that are just awesome.
And I remember when City Folk came out and so many people complained about it. It's just the same thing again. And it's like, that's one of those games where, while technically, like graphically, the engine, I would like improvements. At the same time, like I want that familiarity, that comfort food, Animal Crossing, the core experience. Like add to it, but don't fundamentally change that game, because it's one of those just Zen experiences.
Well, I think where the complaints were coming were City Folk was so much like Wild World, and you're not a handheld gamer, so you didn't play Wild World, I assume.
Right.
So that's where the complaints were coming, whereas it was so much like Wild World. New Leaf was such a change from everything. Yeah. Because Wild World basically was stripped down, took the essentials out, took the holidays out, took the tasks out, things like that. City Folk kind of kind of stayed that way, where like in the GameCube version, like you would walk up to someone and you could ask them to give you a task, and it'd be like, hey, take my tissues over to so-and-so's house. And you would do that. And then you would go to their house and go, oh, no. I don't need them no more. Take them to that person. And you would do a little scavenger hunt or whatever. That came back in New Leaf. That little bit of aspect came back in New Leaf. And then, like, the island was missing, and that came back in New Leaf. And they brought back all these cool little features in New Leaf. But that was the biggest issue was with City Folk. The only real major change was the city, which felt always out of place. Like, because of the fact that, like, you kind of went to the bus stop, the bus picked you up, and the game kind of shut down and then moved. And you had to go. The one thing that I love, though, do you play Smash at all?
Casually.
The coolest thing is if you play the Animal Crossing level on Saturday nights after 8 o'clock, KK's playing music there.
There you go.
Is that the coolest thing ever, man?
Totally is.
It's amazing, dude. I love it. Like, and in this one, in New Leaf, like, there's the club. It's called Club LOL. You go in there, and like during the week, he's a DJ, and he's sitting there, and he's playing, he's DJing. When you go there on Saturday, he's got the guitar out, and he's just like strumming the guitar, and that's when he takes the requests and stuff. But that's the other thing I try to collect. I try to collect all the KK music. So like I'll have a list, and I'll go there every Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And what I also like to do is I also like to get all of the different I like to add characters. So this way, like, I'll send that, like, I'll go in with each one to pick another different song. Sure. And then I'll give that song to my main character, so that way it takes less time to get all the music. Yeah. So I love it. Dude, it's probably hands down one of my favorite. That's the same thing like Mario Kart 8. Like, if you go to certain areas, like when you come around that one bend where Tom Nook's Nook's Crannies up there, if you slow down, you can hear the Tom Nook music playing.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. If you get up against that bend and you just stop, you can hear the music playing from Nook's Cranny. What else is there? Certain time, like each season, KK will be in different spots. I think during summertime he's on the beach and he's actually playing the guitar on the beach. When you go to the Able Sisters and you pull up in front of there, they'll have like different hats and clothes and stuff in the window from the game, like all the different stuff. It's kind of
dude,
cool,
you were just like coasting through that track.
Yeah, I was just like, I just wanted to get out of the cart and run around the town. I was like, screw this. I don't want to play Mario Kart no more. I just want to take off, man. It was amazing. It was so much fun. And I that's the thing too. Like, I love when you have your drawings. with Animal Crossing. Like that's how I could tell that like he's a fan of Animal Crossing, because like it always feels like when you draw the Animal Crossing characters, there's more attention to detail with them and stuff, and like
there's a lot of love there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I always try to draw the things that I remember playing. So a lot of times, and I'll try to draw them like frame them like screenshots almost. Like my Mario set, I tried to frame it like it's a screenshot of a game you never played.
Yes.
Because I think the games that we love the most, they kind of sit somewhere, deep inside, and it isn't just when you put the controller down, it's over. Your brain continues to think about it or imagine just a little bit more. And I think with a game like Animal Crossing, like that perfectly welcomes it. They give you just enough where you can frame the story.
Yes.
And so when I draw those Animal Crossing series, it's like I'm trying to draw the interactions between those characters and frame it like there's something going on.
Yeah.
Fill in the blank.
That's awesome. You played Odyssey, right?
I did.
What's your thoughts?
I did. I am greatly concerned that this is going to give Zelda a run for its money for Game of the Year.
Really?
Which is insane.
Is that nuts that they could have two games potentially Game of the Year?
Zelda to me, and I said this after I finished it, and it still rings true, is my favorite game of all time. And that's kind of a crazy thing to say. Usually you let something like that sit, but man, I don't know that any game has affected me like this one has. It's just bursting with talent and creativity and polish, and it was amazing. And Mario Odyssey, from the little bit that I played at E3 and from every consecutive time I see it, they show a little bit more and a little bit more. There's something there. Like you can see that. I wasn't a fan of Galaxy. I liked it, but I didn't love it. So I've been waiting for Nintendo to bring Mario back into the single-player space. I enjoy the 4-player simultaneous stuff that they've been toying with since the Wii, but like I want 64. I want Sunshine, and this game is that.
Yeah.
It scratches that itch, but I think the no pun intended, the odd nature of this game speaks to me. Like, this is a weird game.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the Mario that you know.
Yeah.
Just the capture element. They could very easily have just possess a Goomba, possess a Bald Bill. That's simple enough. But when you're capturing pylons in the city and catapulting yourself around, and when you're walking through walls in a 2D space, like there's just so much in there. It's so dense with things to do and ways to play it that I am incredibly looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be a slam dunk 10.
I've said this early on, and I really truly believe this is going to happen. I feel like neither of them will win Game of the Year, because I think what's going to happen is this. If you take a company like IGN, right, and you have the Nintendo team, and you have the PlayStation team, and you have the Xbox team, and all that stuff, I feel like those teams typically vote for that game. Like they'll vote for a PlayStation game, or they'll vote for Nintendo or whatever. I feel like Nintendo and Zelda are going to Mario and Zelda are going to eat each other's votes and kind of cancel out.
Oh, sure.
And then a game like Horizon or something else will win based on the fact that, like, these two if you took the scores and added those two, it would be much higher, because you're going to get the Nintendo fans going, some are going to vote Zelda, some are going to vote Mario. All the Sony people really only have one game to vote, and that'll kind of, well, they might have one or two, but I think there's a solid front runner, more or less, for that company, and it's going to kind of go to. I really feel like that's going to happen. I've said it for a while now, and it could potentially happen.
Are you optimistic? I mean, what are your thoughts on?
So
Odyssey?
What I've seen so far of Odyssey, I am impressed. I can't wait to play it. I'm a little about the Joy-Cons. meaning like if you use the Joy-Cons, for those who don't know.
Oh, the motion control and all that.
So if I use the Joy-Cons and I flick my wrist forward, Mario will throw Cappy forward. If I'm running and I throw it to the side, like I go like this to my side, it'll throw the hat off to the side. If I throw it behind me, it'll throw it behind me. Like there's all these different things.
Yeah.
If you're using a Pro controller, he only throws in front. So that part has me a little but other than that, I mean, that's the one minor thing. But when I look at it, I go, this game looks gorgeous. Hands down, it looks amazing. And I love the fact that it feels like, I want to say, like, it feels like a Galaxy. It feels like a Sunshine. It feels like a Mario 64 in the terms of, like, you enter that world, or that kingdom as they're calling it, and it's kind of open world, and you can run around and do whatever you want to do and go anywhere within that world. Like, you could always, like, when you played Mario 64 and you played Sunshine, and even Galaxy, like, you could kind of go wherever you wanted to go. It was kind of pushing you one direction, per se, depending on which star path you picked. But, like, you know, like with Mario 64, you go into painting once, and it was kind of wide open. And when you grab that star, then they would readjust and put the star someplace else, and you would go back into the painting and go get it. I kind of like, I know that this isn't necessarily like that. Like, you just stay in the world. You don't leave and then come back. So that's kind of cool. I like that stuff, man. It's got me really, really excited.
I also really love the customization. Again, speaks back to like what I was saying about Animal Crossing. The costumes, I think that's just so cool. The fact that you can design your Odyssey with trinkets that you buy in the world. Yes. I love stuff like that. That personal touch.
Yes.
Where your Odyssey is going to look a little bit differently than mine.
Yes.
And I might be running around as Mario Maker Mario, and you might be in, you know, the caveman suit. I love the fact that they're introducing new things, but it's got that Mario style, that character. Like, everything is so familiar. Like, when I played that at E3, like lady Nintendo rep backup, I know how to play Mario. Like, it plays exactly like you expect. The long jump, the butt stomp, the backflip, the triple jump. It's just like, doesn't miss a beat. So it's very much that, you know what this is. Like, you have that foundation, but it's just, they're blowing the doors off with something completely unexpected, and this game just looks wild and weird, and I'm so excited for it.
Senor Tiz and Fernando Pelzer, how you guys doing? The one thing for me is, it's the one takeaway of the Switch, of Zelda, of this new Mario game is, and that the one thing that I love about this is all Iwata. This is all his hands, and his fingerprints are all over everything, from the console to Zelda to Odyssey, because he recognized things were stale with Nintendo. They needed a shake-up, and when the younger developers came to him and were like, hey, this is what we're thinking, this is what we want to do, and he just was like, go break the mold. Go. And to hear the stories from the Zelda developers saying that, like, they would go to the hospital with different parts of the game and show him and get his to get his approval, just it touches the heart, man. And to know that, like, this was his console, this was where he saw the company going, and it just, to me, is he took a lot of beatings with the Wii U. And a lot of people took jabs, and was to the point where I saw a lot of people in the media just going like, maybe it's time for him to step down. Maybe it's time for Nintendo to bring somebody else in. And it just goes to show that, like, he knew what he was doing. You know what I mean? It was just, he just needed time to get it out there and to do what was going on. And it's sad that we lost him. Because I feel like with Iwata, he always had his finger on the pulse of the fans. He started the Nintendo Directs. He started the Iwata Asks. Like, you go and you watch a lot of that stuff, or you listen to a lot of stuff, and read a lot of that stuff. Just awesome, you know. And it's a shame that we lost him, but I love the fact that, like, this is his console, and you know, and even for those that don't know, and it's not really a spoiler or anything like that, but like when the credits roll in Zelda, it's just not Kimishima. It's Iwata's name up there as well. And that means a lot. Like, they kept him as executive producer on that game because they were like, that's a classy move. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, you know, he was part of this, you know, and it's like, it wasn't just like Kimishima just going like, no, this is me. I'm the president now. It's mine. It was kind of like, hey, no. You know, this guy did it too. So it was kind of cool. It was kind of nice to see. Are you of the mindset of 2017 has just been this mind-blowing year for Nintendo?
I think 2017 has been a mind-blowing year for the industry. In general.
True. Yes,
I think
true.
It's been an embarrassment of riches across the board. I think Nintendo has positioned itself to redefine what they are. Yeah. I hope they take advantage of it. They continue to do, in one hand, incredible things, and in the other, some head-scratching choices that just, you know, same old Nintendo. So Nintendo is always going to be one of those entities, in my perception, where it's just like they take great strides and then confuse the hell out of you, and then take great strides and confuse the hell out of you. Yeah. I think Switch is exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah.
I think they've produced, obviously, like I said, the best game that I've ever played. And hopefully Mario is going to be exactly what I've been wanting for the last 15 years. I think they are set up now as we see games like Doom and Skyrim and Inside and rumors of Final Fantasy 15. They're positioned now that they have shown the rest of the landscape that they are just as competitive as a Sony and a Microsoft.
Yeah.
I hope they can make the right choices. Tighten things up. We need a good eShop.
Yeah.
I don't even know that they need to give us a virtual console in the sense of what we're used to, but I think they just need to add some clarity to what their mission is.
Yeah.
But they are certainly sitting pretty.
Yeah.
The future is bright for Nintendo.
Yeah.
I'm happy as a Switch owner. I think that it's only going to get better.
Yeah. I'm with you. I agree. I can't argue any of those points. And I look at it and I go, I always feel like right now they can't do any wrong. Like, even when they do wrong, it's just like they just make an announcement to follow it up, and it's just like people just forget about what they were mad about, and it just blows me away. Like, I don't know if you remember. Well, of course you remember, because how can anybody forget? But like when that dongle got leaked, and everybody was just like, "What is that monstrosity?" And then like about 6 hours later, Nintendo goes and announces that their online infrastructure, when it gets to the pay point, is going to be $20 a year, and everybody just completely went, "Oh, who cares about that? Can you believe this is only $20?" It's just like it just blows me away. Like they just continue to do stuff like that, and it kills me, because old Nintendo just would have been like, "This is nuts, this is crazy that people just didn't, I don't know." Old Nintendo would have got buried and would have never gotten lit off the mat, because they wouldn't have, and probably because they wouldn't have had anything good to follow it up with to pull the attention off of. You know what I mean? So,
well, I think just the attitude in general about Nintendo is different. I mean,
yeah,
Rockstar is developing for them.
I know,
like,
man. Can you
what
believe
it's like, something in the water is different.
Yeah.
So I think there are still growing pains as far as third party goes, but you can see that the tide is turning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so as people are getting their toes wet, and you can see that we can have a Wolfenstein 2, like what does that mean? Like, are we going to get the next Resident Evil on Switch? Why not? We're seeing these mainline ports.
Yeah.
It's not Madden. This is Doom.
Yeah.
Doom is a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
So as we see these companies,
Wolfenstein,
yeah,
Wolfenstein is massive, man, because of the fact that it's not released. It's going to come out the same time as the other guys. That's amazing. It really is, man. I'm really, really excited to see what they're doing. Like, it just...
So what I'm really hopeful for is that we will start to see some really strong exclusives from other third parties.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people hate the whole exclusive thing. Me personally, I think exclusives that's what I get excited about.
Yeah.
As a PlayStation owner, I don't care about Call of Duty. I don't care about Assassin's Creed. I care about Uncharted, and I care about, the Horizons of the world. And when I look at Xbox, I'm getting on board for Crackdown and Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
So that's always been Nintendo's strong suit, but it's always been first party.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that we see some of these companies that are getting on board. I hope we start to see some really cool exclusives from them, and then that will cement Nintendo in this new generation.
One last thing before we wrap this up. What is your stance with the SNES Classic? Are you getting it? Have you pre-ordered one? Where's your vibe and feel with this thing?
I do have one pre-ordered. I was very lucky.
Okay.
When NES Classic came and went, I wanted one. I was bummed that I didn't get one, but I wasn't torn up.
Yeah.
SNES Classic, this box is a collection of the best years of my childhood.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 3 is like, I already own that game twice, and I'm more than happy to play through it again.
Yeah.
The Mario, the Zelda, Super Metroid, like, this is just...
Do you feel like...
This box is just gold to me.
Do you feel like it's worth the money, or do you feel like there's some stuff missing that really needed to be there?
To me, the only thing that's missing... I'm not one to look at a list of, great games and say, oh, but they should have thrown this in there. But if I were to pick one thing that's not in there, it would be Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like, that's like the obvious choice.
Yeah.
To me, it's completely worth the money.
Yeah.
Would I rather have this on Virtual Console? Absolutely. Would I rather have this on a cartridge that I can plug into my Switch? Absolutely.
Stop listening to Nintendo dads. All right, stop that.
I mean, I would love to take all this stuff with me. Of course, I would. But
no, I know.
But at the same time, like, I'm more than I worry about the stock issues. That is one thing with this that really concerns me and bothers me, and I don't understand about Nintendo, and I never will. The limited edition nature of this. Why not just mass produce this? But we're not going to have that conversation. As far as just the product itself, it's absolutely worth the money. I'm very excited to be getting mine, and I'm going to play the crap out of it.
I mean, Reggie did come out and say, like, don't buy from scalpers. We're going to put more than enough out there. That's his thought anyway. And then they are bringing back the NES Classic. That's the one thing I will say about this Nintendo now. It does seem like they're starting to listen to the fans a little bit. A lot of the complaints that were on the app, they're starting to address them now. Hopefully they'll bake it into the Switch at some point, or in future iterations, bake the voice chat in. But, when old Nintendo never would have listened to the fans at all. They just would have done what they did, and that's it, and it is what it is. So on some things, it feels like they're starting to listen a little bit. And what I mean by with the app was, so if you play Splatoon 2, if you're using the voice chat, if you leave the Nintendo app, you would get disconnected. That doesn't happen anymore. Also, if the phone went to sleep, it doesn't happen anymore. So those things are more or less, it shows that Nintendo listened to the complaints and they adjusted on those. With the SNES Classic, with him saying that, like, don't buy from scalpers, it makes me feel, and I don't know if you saw the leaked numbers that came out from Toys R Us. I didn't. Toys R Us is basically someone that works at Toys R Us showed memos to the stores, and what it said was every store will have a minimum of 30 at launch day, up to 90, and on average 49 per store. So they're going to flood the markets, I feel, with these things. I don't think it's going to be as bad. I hope so. I feel like, and I don't know how enthralled you were with the Amiibo craze, but I've been likening this to Wave 4. So what happened with Wave 4 was leading up to that was you could never get them, no matter what. Like, even if you showed, like, you need to be the first one or two at the store in order to get Amiibo. Wave 4 comes out, and there's exclusives, store exclusives all over the place, and people are freaking out because they're not going to get them. You show up at the store that day, and there was just like, there's one for you, and one for you, and one for you. Like, there was plenty there, and it was like, wow, what happened here? So I've been feeling like that's going to kind of happen again with this, is they're going to be there. I don't think it'll ever get to the point where you walk in the store and there'll be boxes and stacks of them, which it should be, you know what I mean? But essentially, I think it will get to the point where, you know, you want one, you can get them. I think it's going to be a little bit easier to get definitely easier, I think, than the NES Classic was, which is crazy because I got one. We almost got a second one, and actually Tony did get one, but she sold it to a coworker. She bought it and then sold it for cost. She didn't make no money off it, and she was actually getting it because she was going to give it to her parents for Christmas. And then she was just like, yeah, you know what, I'll get them something else, and this coworker really wants it, so I'll give it to her. But, you know, and she just walked into a GameStop one day and was like, hey, I'm looking for the NES Classic, can I get one? And they were like, no, we don't have them, but we think we have a shipment coming next week. Give me your name and number. We'll call you. They called her like 8 o'clock. They're like, we're going to hold it for an hour.
Oh, wow.
So she just got up and went to the GameStop and got it. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, Adam, thank you so much for coming on. This was a little bit longer than I expected to go. I was expecting an hour.
That's just how much you love me.
It does. It just goes to show that, like, when you and I get together, we can just talk. We just run our jaws. That's right. I looked up and I was like, holy crap, we've been going too long. I got to stop this. And I was like, this is turning into a Nintendo Dads episode. I got to Adam's going to hate.
My wife's upstairs like, what the F?
Yeah, she's like, come on, Adam, what's going on? Let everybody know where they can find you at, man. And people, if you're here, if you're watching this later, pay attention and go check this stuff out, like, seriously. But go ahead, where can they find you and all that you do?
I am one half of the Megadads. My brother and I run a podcast called Megadads Live, where we talk about getting old and staying nerdy and being tired a lot. Megadads.org is our website. You can find us on Twitter at Megadadsblog.
Good stuff. You can follow him. Did you say Twitter? At Megadads?
At Megadadsblog on Twitter.
Okay,
yep.
Okay. And then that's pretty much it. That's where we're at. So
pretty much it.
Yeah, that's I don't know how they do. I was gonna say something, and I was like, I don't need to go there.
I'm Bobby's best friend. We have brunch twice a month.
Is that what we did? Yeah. We have a little.
I'll see you tomorrow morning.
It sounds good. Sounds lovely.
All right.
Sounds lovely. So that is all. Peace out, Preston.
Bye-bye.